today is Monday, October 28th. The time is 6:12, and I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. Roll call, please.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Helmsinski.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Babcock.
Here.
Trustee Broadhead.
Here.
Trustee Harris. Trustee Hatch.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, October 28th, 2019, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you, everyone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 3 is our review and approve agenda. Is there any change to the agenda tonight?
I would like to pull ordinance number 913 and 914 for more clarification.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Informational items are next. The community quarterly update. Our first one is our community events committee, and that will be by our public information officer, Erica Harper.
Thank you. So I didn't receive an events committee quarterly report as of October 24th, so I put together an agenda item summarizing what we've been up to and what's coming up. So we had a busy summer. Most of you attended concerts. We had 6 concerts over the summer. We had 3 movies scheduled, one of which was canceled due to weather. We had some great community partners over the summer, so the Mead Area Chamber, and then also Grandview Church did a great deal for our movies and concerts. Of course, we also had the bike parade and the Fishing is Fun Derby and some of those other smaller events. Since the end of the summer, the committee has met twice to discuss what worked, what didn't work. We're currently evaluating the frequency and schedule of concerts. We're also exploring options to simplify the movie nights. That could be something like instead of starting the event at 6 p.m. and having some activities, we just start it right at 8 o'clock, and it's movies and maybe the chamber wants to do concessions again, but no food trucks, no kids activities beforehand. So we're still weighing some of those options, and we'll be making some decisions for the 2020 season here over the next couple of months. In this past meeting we had in September, the committee decided to cancel this year's Veterans Day event. We had started planning, and then once staff started making some calls and working through the logistics, we realized there are a number of competing events happening that day, not only in town but in the area. So one thought we had is the committee would like to partner with the schools next year. Now, if we want to do that, we'll need to reach out to the schools early on, so probably in August. But we do have that event in the budget for 2020. It'll just change what we are planning, the shape of the event. And then we're chugging along and planning Christmas in the Park. So this year's Christmas in the Park is scheduled for Saturday, December 7th. The parade registration is up and available on the town's website. We've had a number of people already call about registering for the parade. We're exploring some changes to this year's event, including activities provided, the length of the event, food provided, and so forth. We actually have a special meeting scheduled tomorrow evening to hammer out some more of these details. But Lorelai has been working hard to get tents booked and to explore the various activities, food options, and so forth. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Next is from our Finance Committee. Finance Committee Chair Scott will be presenting for the quarter. Thank you, Scott, for being here.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I think I did that right. Am I on?
Yep.
All right, good deal.
I'm just gonna read from this, and then, if at any point you guys wanna interrupt me, feel free, or have any questions, feel free to do that as well, but, this summary is to update the Board of Trustees on the status of Finance Committee last met, August 27th, to discuss current and future investment options, review committee membership applications, receive the annual committee training, discuss the November ballot proposals, receive an update on the 2020 budget process, discuss the Carbon Valley Recreation District proposal, and set a regular meeting schedule. Since that meeting, the 2020 proposed budget has been presented to you all. 6-month CD has been purchased to move money out of the Wells Fargo money market account, which had a lower yield. There remains an opening on the committee right now. There are 2 applicants, neither of whom were able to attend the August 27th meeting, but will be highly encouraged to attend the next regularly scheduled meeting on November 12th. That's all I have for you, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Questions for Scott? Thank you.
Awesome, thanks, have a good night.
You too, thank you. Next is our public comment, and we take it for any item, whether it's on the agenda or not, unless it's scheduled for a public hearing. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. You may have 5 minutes if you're representing a group. The town clerk will call up any of those who signed in.
Ken Chavez.
Hi, sir, how are you?
Good evening, Board of
If you
Trustees,
could
Mayor.
push the button on the microphone, the bar. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Ken Chavez. I reside at 106 Hunters Cove Road here in Mead. Dear Mayor, Board of Trustees, the Manager. Reason I'm here tonight is to make comment on the new election item I see that would legalize marijuana sales dispensary in Mead. For 40 years I have worked in Denver, Colorado, and we are the oldest city that's had marijuana dispensaries and grows in the state of Colorado. And I can tell you firsthand that it is a vast mistake that we've made in doing so. In the course of marijuana legalization in Denver, we have had a marijuana-related homicide. We have had a significant jump in poisonings from marijuana edibles. We have had invasion and burglaries and takedown robberies of dispensaries. We've had the same thing of grow facilities. We've had black marketing, and we've had money laundering. I'm sure a lot of people have moved to Mead to make sure that they live in a rural lifestyle away from the problems and the issues of large cities. That's one of the reasons I moved here a year and a half ago, and I very much like it here. And I would hate to see some situations that have happened in Denver and the large cities occur here in Mead. Certain cities in the state of Colorado have chosen not to try to look at that as a cash cow for money for their city, because with it comes further expenditures in law enforcement, in emergency, in fire response because of marijuana and its secondary and tertiary issues. I would implore anyone that's listening tonight and watches this presentation to not vote for marijuana legalization, sales, distribution, or growth in the city of Mead. It will bear huge problems that you will have to spend more money on in the future because of it. And I say so because I've seen it firsthand in the time before marijuana legalization and specifically afterwards. And I will tell you, one of our major issues has been homelessness and the creation of people coming to Denver and Colorado because of the legalization of marijuana on both the medical or the recreational side. It is the only substance on this planet that is used for both medical and recreational uses. And it has a profound negative effect on our community. Particularly, it will make marijuana much more available to our elementary, middle, and high school students. No matter what anybody says, it will be right here and very close. I'm open for any questions anyone has.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your words.
Thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Mary, is there anyone else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Next is the consent agenda. It's acted in one motion and voted. Is there a motion for the consent agenda as amended by Mayor Pro Tem Alzowski? So that will be A, B, C, and F.
I move to approve the consent agenda, including item A, B, C, and F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next will be the ordinance number 913, it's the ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, adopting section 7-2-260 of the Mead Municipal Code to address permissible construction hours. And our town attorney, town engineer will be addressing this. Thank you.
I got
Sorry.
promoted to.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that a promotion? Okay.
Sorry, Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor.
What question did you have?
Well, okay, my question was, why did this come in front of us as part of it? And the other part is, I was kind of concerned about that it's, all the hours in the days, were federal holidays, and construction companies in general don't not work on federal holidays. I mean, most construction companies have a 7-day holiday every year, plus maybe 2 days. And in reading this, I can't I'm trying to understand is that you cannot do any construction. For instance, build on a house the day before Christmas. A builder, a general contractor can't go out and build on a house or work on a house because of noise constraints after 7 in the morning and before 5 in the evening. I'm just trying to understand what the constraints are, because generally construction companies don't have 14 holidays. They don't recognize a lot of the holidays that the federal government does, or this building, or any government agency, I guess.
So the time restriction is, just nighttime hours, so they'd be able to work from 7 AM to 7 PM during regular working days. It excludes weekends and holidays. And if I understand your question, I mean, I don't believe Christmas Eve is a federal holiday, so.
Well, it said the days that were recognized by the town, and you do list those in the ordinance, is Christmas Eve, I think you list
Sure.
Veterans Day, President's Day.
That's correct, and so I think the intent there is for, contractors who are doing work for the town that requires inspection, we would not allow them to be working on that day. Because that would mean I would have to have an employee working on that day as well.
We're talking about town staff.
Correct, town staff. And then we also have a noise ordinance, which is the same hours, that only allows noise at those same hours.
But I guess I'm confused, I don't know, why can't, I'm building a house, why can't I, do stuff inside my house without worrying about it being inspected? I mean, there's things you can do that you don't need an inspector or anyone from the town of Mead to come in and inspect. And so I guess I feel like we're constraining our builders, but I don't know.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, I think you're asking a good question. I think we tried to specifically draft around that. If you look at subsection C of this proposed section of code, we do say that under it's the title or the section titled exceptions. It says, in addition, construction activities not requiring permits or inspection services by town staff or town consultants may be conducted on Saturdays or Sundays between those hours. So I think what we're saying is that if it's an activity that does not require an inspection and does not require Erica to have a member of town staff available, you would be able to do that, notwithstanding these hourly restrictions that we're putting in place. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make more sense, okay. Cause I was just, I read it like twice and couldn't wrap my head around it. It was.
Well, and the real nexus for this and why we're putting it in the code is, as we're starting into what is now quite a bit of construction activity, we've found that our code was silent on construction hours. And it's typical to have this 7 AM to 7 PM. With Saturdays and Sundays are kind of on the bubble. And we're trying to respect town staff and not having to pay overtime.
Right.
But we also we have the proviso that it can be allowed. The problem is we didn't have anything in the code to back it up,
And if you've been following two of our residential subdivisions that have been going on, we wanted to make sure that we were clear moving forward, even though we put it in their contract documents. So we wanna make sure that we're clear with everybody and they can go back and look at the code that clearly states it. But we're not trying to stop people from working, but what we are trying to do is strike a balance between a contractor's ability to work and other residents' ability to sleep and enjoy the day. I know I got a text from one of our trustees last week where at 3 o'clock in the morning, they were apparently working at the Highlands. And Eric looked into it and it turned out, we think it was a fueler who had come in to fuel the tanks and banged around and made a bunch of noise. But we're just trying to strike a fair balance between when contractors can work and when people can feel that they can be assured that they can have a quiet evening or a quiet weekend. That's what we were hoping to do with it.
I have a question. This says here, in addition, construction activities not requiring permit or inspection services by town or staff or town consultants. Don't they have to call in to make an appointment to have somebody come out and do the inspection anyways?
It depends. If it, like a building permit, typically they schedule that.
Okay.
And on a construction project, if they're gonna pour or if they're gonna pour asphalt on a weekend and they need to do a proof roll, they would absolutely have to get approval ahead of time to do that.
So, but this one says not requiring permits or inspections. A lot of stuff requires that, and they have to get it inspected before they can do anything. So, if they get it inspected and say, yes, they can, and they have a permit, then, and the only time they can pour is on a Saturday, I think this is restrictive on construction workers. I really do. Because if they have to have an inspection, you know, they're gonna have it Monday through Friday.
But it allows them to work on Saturday and Sunday. It says that.
The way it's stated, it says, in addition, construction activities not requiring permit or inspection services, not requiring a
Those are
permit.
accepted, like,
Those
that's
are
an
exceptions.
exception.
Those are exceptions.
They can,
Yeah.
Right.
so if you don't need your permit, you don't need town staff, work away, as
Right.
long as it's 7 AM to 7 PM.
Right.
Isn't this pretty typical though of other jurisdictions? I mean, we're not doing anything
Well,
crazy.
I looked up other areas, just Googling it, not specific, but they all kind of went with the 7-day, the holidays, typical 7-day holiday, not the federal holidays as, days for that. I'm just kind of,
So you would rather have staff work on those days?
no, but
They're not saying construction can't happen on those
Right.
days. It's just they can't get permits on
those days.
Christmas
or
Eve
get an
day.
inspection.
Yeah, it's
So-
just that, so they have to do a little pre-planning. I don't think
Yes.
that's asking too much of the construction community.
And they're letting the construction developers know that those are the holidays that the town has.
And that they can't come out there, but if I'm building, I can put a roof on a house out at Sorrento on Christmas Eve, if I want, or is this gonna permit me from not being able to, or the day after
You
Thanksgiving?
want, I mean, typically when you put a roof on, you don't have to have an inspection, it's kind of a post-mortem. I mean, a real good example would be if you're pouring a foundation. Okay, you generally have to have the footers inspected. They come out and say, yep, they're good, they have the right amount of rebar. And then you go ahead and pour, and sometimes it can take days to do the pour. You could do that on Saturday and Sunday, because you don't need that inspected. The whole idea behind this is just to preclude activities that require us to pay somebody overtime to do it on Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't preclude them from doing the activity, it only precludes an activity that requires an inspection. Most construction doesn't require somebody to be there the whole time like in an operating room. It's generally something you inspect forms, you inspect the steel, but you're most of the time you're not inspecting it.
Yeah, okay, I have a better understanding of it. So in the case where someone got woken up at 3 in the morning, how how is this gonna, are we gonna go, fine them?
Well, if it were an activity, say they had decided
it
to
wasn't
start
an
running front-end loaders at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but just say they would. This does give us our ability, does it not, Marcus, to fine them? Isn't that the whole purpose for doing this? To have some legal remedy to get people to not work in the midnight hour?
Yeah.
That's correct. One of the, you'll see under the enforcement section, subsection D, there's a variety of enforcement options that the town has. So we can issue a stop work order. We can withhold a CO or TCO. Or we can prosecute the violation. So if we know that they're running front-end loaders, we can bring them into municipal court and seek a fine. And again, it's just to disincentivize folks from doing the work outside of the hours that we're permitting.
Okay.
And I think Erica made a good point earlier, or perhaps it was Helen. We have had these very same construction hour limitations that are set forth in our adopted construction and design standards, but those are difficult to find. And this, I think, we're putting similar time restrictions into the code so that we have it's an easier citation, I think, to refer somebody to the code when Erica and her staff are working with the construction crews to let them know what is and is not allowed within the town.
This section B, under 7-2-260. Prohibitions on construction activities. No person shall engage in, cause, or permit any person to be engaged in construction activities in any residential, agricultural, or commercial district on weekdays between the hours of 7 p.m. on day 1 and 7 a.m. of the following day, or on weekends or town holidays without prior written approval by the town engineer or the town engineer's designee. That's still like it's prohibiting them construction.
But then it says exclusions, or exceptions are
It's still very.
anything that doesn't need permits or inspections by town. This is just protecting staff from needing to be here. It's not keeping the contractor from doing work except at like 8 p.m. or 3 a.m. I mean, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
That I understand. I wouldn't want anybody working that late either. It just doesn't read right.
I can give you an example of the Highlands. They've requested to work on Saturday because the weather is coming and they're anxious to get pavement down out there. And so they request from me on a case-by-case basis, can they work on Saturday? And I can say yes, and I have. You can work from 8 to 4 on Saturday. And if you need an inspector, you can pay him overtime to be there on that particular day. So we are working with those contractors who need to conduct business on that day, particularly this time of year when there's weather limitations and they're losing days that they couldn't work. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion for this ordinance?
I move to approve ordinance number 913, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, adopting section 7-2-260 of the Mead Municipal Code to address permissible construction hours.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me,
Motion carries, thank you. E, what is your question on E? Ordinance number 914, ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, amending section 1-4-20 of the Mead Municipal Code concerning the maximum penalty for municipal code violations. Okay.
On this one, I was just wondering how you would be enforcing it. In the example I wanna go back to is the person at 3 o'clock in the morning bringing whatever in over there. Would we, if this was enforced, be over there to ticket them on Monday morning or Sunday morning?
I think more likely we would call the police, and the police would go out and issue a citation. That's how, that's the, when you can get it into a point where you can give citations, that's what we're lacking. I mean, they have to have something backing when they go out there, so that's the idea behind it.
Okay.
Is there a motion for ordinance number 914?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 914, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, amending section 1420 of the Mead Municipal Code concerning the maximum penalty for municipal code violations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, thank you. Next we'll have our staff report by our town manager.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. You have my report. I do have a couple of updates. Today we heard that the intersection of 34 and 13 is open. All the barrels are down. Go out and take a look. I always get excited by road projects, so I'm really glad that it's open. On the other hand, as you move further to the west, here in town, over by Sereno, you'll see there's intermittent road closures on 5 and 28. They're working on water lines, they're undergrounding the electric, and they're trying to beat the weather. I think the weather beat them. But just so you're aware, if you get calls, that we have had to accommodate those closures to try to get that work done. They're trying to get everything underground so they can get the paving done. So that's kind of the bookends of something that's open and something that's closed. I wanted to let you know on November 12th, we will be doing an update on our agreement with Firestone. As you will recall, about 5 years ago, when we got into a bit of a tete-a-tete with Firestone over the Barefoot subdivision, we entered into an agreement, and it's 5 years old. And Trustee Harris asked us to do an update on that. So our planning director is going to update the board and the audience on where we are with that and what's happened since that occurred, and what exactly does that agreement hold each party to.
That'll be the halfway point because it's a 10-year agreement.
Right. So stay tuned. That'll be a good one. And then lastly, I'd just like to do a little shout out to Erica Rasmussen. On Friday, while she was in Nebraska watching the Nebraska football game, we had someone come in, and we had our front desk person sent this email and said a homeowner brought in some bagels to say thank you and tell us that they appreciated the help they received from Erica R. They live next to the new Highlands development that is under construction. Their fence backs up to where the large trucks and land moving equipment was parking, very noisy, very early, and asked for help requesting that they move the parking location. Erica's communication with the contractor was effective. They moved their equipment, and the homeowners are very happy. So they brought in bagels and cream cheese for staff to say thanks. So I just wanted to give a shout out to another great staff member that we have here at the town of Mead. And I will answer any questions.
I have one question. Regarding the CDOT going ahead with 3rd Street and State Highway 66, it says that 1.5 million in state funding is available for design and right-of-way acquisition and construction. Timeframe? Like, what are we?
So
that was exciting to read.
Yeah, that was exciting for us. Eric and I met with them a week ago or so at their offices in CDOT. And as you will recall, this money was gotten years ago through our friends at Dr. Cog. And it was secured, and the money hasn't been spent, and every year they ask us what's going on, and it's really theirs to take forward. So the time frame is they've already selected a contractor, and they're starting into the design and figuring out exactly what it's going to look like. At the end of it, they hope to have $700,000 or $800,000 of that money left to go towards construction. The rest of the cost of construction will have to be borne by development. And so one of the things you will see as trustees, we'll be starting to work on an MOU or an IGA with CDOT, because they're going to be the lead agency on construction. As you know, the Mead Place development that should be in here on the 12th of November, we've been working out the final details. they're gonna bear the major expense of that construction in the intersection. And ultimately, CDOT will be the one constructing it. There will be a state contribution, the developer will pay for it, and then there ultimately will be a payback to the developer from other developments that benefit from the intersection. For example, we have a big development that's coming in, right near the high school, several thousand units. They will benefit from that rebuild of the intersection, so there'll be a repay to that developer. So timeframe is, sorry for that long boring explanation, but I needed to set the stage. They're looking to be done with design and go all the way through it by the end of 2020. So it'll take about a little over 12 months.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Erica?
Yes. It's taken about 4 or 5 years. So I worked on that for a little bit, so. Plus we've got that in the PEL coming up and ACP coming, whatever it's called. My acronyms that I know that. But it's a huge effort. Plus, the trail going underneath will just enhance that more and more. So that intersection alone will cost a couple lots of $1 million, that intersection alone, but,
It will be nice.
yeah, it will. Any other questions? I want to do a shout out on our video tonight for Jamie Hickey tonight. I know we talked about her passing of the professional of the PHR certification test, but I just want to say thank you on record to make sure that she's recognized, up and coming HR professional in our organization. I just wanted to say thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Denise, for helping her move along, and thank you, Helen, for your both leadership on helping Jamie achieve her dreams. So I just want to say thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, next we'll go on to the bills list. Is there a motion to approve the October 28th bills list?
I move that we approve the October 28th bills list.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Trustee Hatch.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pelsiski.
Yes.
Trustee Broadhead.
Yes.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, motion passes. Next is a new business resolution number 77-R-2019. It's a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Mead, Colorado, in support of the town's inclusion into the boundaries of the Carbon Valley Parks and Recreation District. This will be presented by our town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. You have before you this resolution of support. I would urge you to vote in favor of this. This will start the process of showing the Board of Directors of the Carbon Valley Rec District that the town is interested in pursuing this. What you will see if you do pass this resolution tonight, that they will be sending out a letter very soon, maybe as soon as tomorrow, to every Mead resident explaining what this would look like and starting down the road to the process of holding an election. We've been trying to coordinate the schedules. It looks like it could be as soon as the first weekend in February. So, I know they're waiting anxiously. We've had several discussions about it, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions, concerns? All right, is there a motion for resolution number 77-R-2019?
I move that we approve resolution 77R-219, a resolution of the Board of Trustees in the Town of Mead, Colorado, in support of the town's inclusion in the boundaries of the Carbon Valley Parks and Rec District.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next is our elected official reports. Any town trustee want to say anything?
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
I would like to get the board's input there. Everybody should have received the request for more information regarding the pros committee. Tricia and I both had sent out emails that you all should have received and read, but most importantly I asked for staff's input, since they are the ones that have to work with the pros committee, and wanted their input on the functionality of it, especially with now having the staff that we have now and we haven't had in the past. So I personally would like to hear the rest of the board, because I know we don't often communicate much and shouldn't via email. So I'd like to hear, because we have heard from myself and Trustee Harris on where we're at with what the code says and what PROS does, and if it's a viable committee at this point.
Trustee Adams, do you have any input?
Well, I missed the majority of the meeting, when they were here during their presentation this last, meeting, and, when I walked in, it seemed like there was definitely some heated debate going on, as to who does what. After reading through what you had put out after the meeting, I agree 100% that, I think there's a place for a group of citizens that want to help the town, but we have grown our town staff to a point where they're currently putting their effort, I don't think is valuable. It's a conflict right now. I think there's some other opportunities that we can look at to have people that want to help move this town forward, pursue other avenues that the staff isn't being directed to do so with. So, I would be in favor of that.
I would as well.
I would concur, but I hope we can reach out and maybe find, we're always looking for volunteers, and we have 4 people that are willing to volunteer in the town, so I hope we can find a place, that it satisfies their passion for the town of Mead.
Deb?
Yeah, as long as we, have discussion with them, make sure that they're willing to help out somewhere else or that volunteer in some capacity.
So I know a lot of us, and speaking with the PROS committee during our work session, we kept coming back to them being more of a think tank, bringing the ideas, which I absolutely think we need community involvement. We keep saying we can't get people to be involved. The fact that what the code says and what our staff does now, how that conflicts with their role has changed. I do think asking them to be involved and be out there in the community and come to the board and let us know what the community's ideas are for parks and rec is very important. But at this point, we are duplicating activities, and there's just a lot of stepping on toes. And so if you just purely look at the code and how they should be functioning with what our staff does, we're completely overlapping, and I think there's where the conflict lies in. So I absolutely agree of asking them to continue to be in the community and drumming up ideas and bringing them to us, because we need that. We absolutely need that, and we want the involvement. So, well, with that, then I would ask for a motion to disband the PROS committee due to the overlap of their, duties, but ask the 4 members to continue to work in the community and bring ideas to us, because we need that think tank. We need those community members to be out there.
Second?
Second?
I wanna just, clarify what your motion means is to, draft an ordinance to, dissolve the Parks, Recreation Facilities, Open Space Committee in Chapter 3, Article 2.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, Deb. Okay, motion carries. Any other trustees wanna bring anything else? Okay, the only thing I have is coffee with Mayor Saturday, 8 to 10, be here. Anything else, staff?
Yeah, one, public meeting. Mary, did you want to bring that up for the Carbon Valley Rec District on November 6th?
The Carbon Valley Rec District for their inclusion, November 6th.
Yeah, they were gonna have a public open house here.
Are they here?
Yes.
Here,
Okay.
at the town hall.
What time?
It's 5 to 7
5 to
p.m.
7.
on Wednesday,
Wednesday.
November sixth. And this is an opportunity really for you all or any members of the community to come and I think get information about what the process looks like and also just to learn more about the district and the services that they offer.
Can you post that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, I can post that. Actually, what I wanted to say was, there's election on November fifth, everybody vote if you have not voted.
Right.
November fifth, 7 to 7,
Everything's
vote.
fast.
And
Everybody vote.
happy Halloween, have a safe one, it's gonna be cold.
Who's all going to town and county?
Mayor Whitlow, Trustee Adams, and Trustee Broadhead, Town Manager, and myself. That's on Wednesday, this Wednesday.
Right, right.
And you don't have to bring any food, they're gonna have it right there.
Correct.
Right.
I don't have to bring dessert this time.
Okay, is there anything else before we adjourn? Alright. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6:53 here adjourned. Thank you, everyone.